Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Well, as per usual, it seems the Democrats took their victory lap a little too early. It's almost like a pattern of behavior at this point. You know, for a while there, it seemed as though they were convinced that they had some wind in their sails. Oh, Donald Trump is collapsing before our very eyes, and we are here to pick up the pieces. But it seems as though it was simply a gust of delusion. It wasn't real. A few fake polls, a couple MSNBC segments, and suddenly they were convinced that Donald Trump was done for. But here we are again. The Democrats are forced to face reality, and the truth, I'd say, is undeniable. The exact same trend lines that we were following that led us to predict that Donald Trump would win the 2024 election despite the polls saying otherwise, well, they haven't diminished. They haven't disappeared. No, they're still there. They're alive, and they might be stronger than ever before. I'm looking at two places: New York, New Jersey. That was a big part of our 2024 election analysis. The clear rightward shift in big Democrat cities that just didn't seem to align with what all the left-wing pollsters were telling us. And well, just as I said earlier, the trend continues. New York and New Jersey are moving rightward, along with pretty much every other poll. In other words, the decimation of the Democrat Party continues. A gust of delusion, folks. Let me show you guys exactly what's going on, and just some of the doom and gloom that's currently happening on the Democrat side. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so let's start off with New York State. Here's a place that just a few years ago, Democrats thought was untouchable. I mean, they were convinced that these places were not only untouchable, but that they were gaining ground in places like Texas and Florida. Texas and Florida will become blue bastions. That's what we heard. But it seems as though the opposite is true. Their remaining blue bastions seem to be falling. Kathy Hochul, the sitting Democrat governor of the state, according to this poll, is now in a dead heat with Elise Stefanik at 43 to 42, separated by 1 point, with a good chunk of the vote undecided. And considering the general polling bias that skews to the left that's baked into these polls, what this poll might actually be showing us is a code red emergency for the Democrats. Elise Stefanik might be ahead by 5. But the bad news for Democrats doesn't end there. Let's go over to New Jersey. Boy, oh boy, where Trump's approval rating is now split at an even 47-47. Do you know how big that is? We're talking about New Jersey, folks. Joe Biden won New Jersey by double digits in 2020. Kamala Harris also had a pretty commanding lead, although it wasn't as good as Joe Biden, signaling the trend. And now it's almost looking like it's headed towards battleground status. I don't want to go there just yet, but Trump with an even approval rating in New Jersey, a state that used to be defined by their Trump derangement syndrome? I don't know, folks. It's looking pretty scary if I was a Democrat, let me tell ya. And also, speaking about Trump derangement syndrome, well, we might have found a cure. I guess something's happened in New Jersey, because now 53% of respondents now say they want a governor who will work with President Trump. The whole Democrat shtick is opposing Donald Trump, resisting Trump, sabotage him at every turn, indict him, defy his executive orders, take him to the Supreme Court. I mean, that's the whole Democrat mantra. But you now have a majority of respondents in a deep blue Democrat state signaling that they want a governor who will work with Donald Trump, not sabotage him. That's basically the Democrat strategy out the damn window. Folks, they are in full-on collapse. And I don't think I'm the only one seeing it. Lifelong Democrats seem to be thinking the same thing. I mean, take a look at this exchange with Stephen A. Smith and Chris Cuomo.
It'll swing back, but I just feel like the whole pendulum game just is not good for us.
I don't think it's going to swing back. I think that the Democrats are in grave danger of losing the midterms. I think stuff like this is going to linger. And I think when you got a guy like Trump who will continue to remind everybody about fake news and all of this stuff. And they don't realize that every little thing that they do that leans towards this kind of stuff to point the finger at them about, it all of a sudden it brings into everything you accused him of. And no matter how right you may have been, there's so much wrong along the way that you're perpetually stained. And that's how I look at them right now.
Right, and especially in a gotcha game. If, you know, there's no winner. And the only thing I would say
is this is a gotcha game.
The midterms are going to be about the economic realities at home. And that's going to,
I agree.
That's going to be the measure. So we'll see.
Little Chrissy Cuomo comes out saying the pendulum will swing back. And then Stephen A. Smith hits him with the doomer outlook, which I think might be much more appropriate, that he doesn't think it's going to swing back. Stephen A. Smith says, I don't think it's going to swing back. I think the Democrats are in grave danger. And you know what? I'm kind of feeling the same way. I don't know if there is a quick swing back from this. You know, the pendulum does swing, but it tends to take some time, and especially in cases as extreme as this. The Democrat Party is totally totally broken. They're sitting at a 21% approval rating. They're bleeding in their own blue state strongholds. And the GOP seems to not only be holding the line from 2024, but even building on top of it. Trump's approval rating isn't cratered, like Democrats told you a month ago. No, it's climbing back to all-time highs. Republican enthusiasm is still pretty steady. Voter registration trends have basically followed the same trend, maybe slightly evening out, but nothing to signal a massive boost for Democrats. The Democrat Party has taken a credibility hit that's honestly, I think, going to be one for the history books. And don't take my partisan word for it. Just listen to their own people. Here's former Democrat State Senator Nina Turner giving her opinion on the current state of the party.
This is what I care about the most, is that the Democratic Party proved itself to be hypocrites. And two things that people cannot abide: hypocrites and liars. So they wanted to say that President Donald J. Trump was the biggest threat to democracy, when it turns out that the Democratic Party itself was the biggest threat to democracy. Whenever you don't allow for a primary, don't forget that Julian Castro, too, when he was running in 2020, said that there was something wrong with President Biden. Now, he's not a medical doctor, but that was his observation.
You didn't have to be a doctor. We all saw it.
But then he was ostracized, too. So the Democratic Party, the same things that they claim that Republicans do, they do to Democrats like myself and the congressmen and others. And I don't know if they disappeared Julian Castro. I hope he's okay, because he told the truth on that stage. The biggest mistake that the party made, in my opinion, before we got to this point, was to not allow for a robust primary. And the Democratic Party itself must answer to that. And the same people who got us in this mess are not the ones who can get us out. So as far as I'm concerned, Leader Hakeem Jeffries should go. As far as I'm concerned, Senator Schumer should go. All of these folks should go.
They're scared.
Clean house and start all over.
I've also got this clip from Andrew Cuomo, who basically admits the Democrat governors are destroying America's greatest cities.
That far left is so intense and so active and so strong, you better not get on the wrong side of them, because they will threaten you, and they will threaten you in a primary, and they're very strong in a primary because you have that low turnout, and they are the activists. So it's a paralysis. Unless it's perfect, we're not going to do it, and we're going to side with the advocacy community opposition whenever we can, and we get absolutely nothing done. And you see a deterioration of conditions, and people say, why? And you're all Democrats, and I went to Los Angeles, and all I saw were blue tarps everywhere and homeless living under bridges, etc. And I'm afraid to walk down the street, and it's all Democrats who are in charge. There's no one else to blame. It's you. And you want to point fingers internally, that does nothing for me. It's still you. And that's what you have to fix.
We've also got Bernie Sanders going viral nearly every week, it seems, absolutely roasting the Democrat establishment. This party is in full-on disarray. It's unlike anything I've ever seen. And now the Trump administration seems to be on a path towards success. You know, they're working on a vision, and it seems to be slowly materializing. And so you've got the Republican Party as steady as can be, gaining ground in Democrat cities, and then you've got Democrats, or better yet, you've got the Democrat collapse continuing. And that's the story that I've been telling for the last couple of months here, especially during the narrative building moment where they essentially declared the Trump administration dead. And well, it seems as though the data and the sentiment on the other side is really backing up the statements that I've been making. I don't know about you guys, but if this continues, I think 2026 could actually end up being that elusive red tsunami that we've been waiting for. As it currently stands, as it stands right now, I think Republicans are headed towards expanding their majorities in the House and the Senate. But of course, it's politics and things can change in an instant. But anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you guys on this one. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.